but I've been top overall achiever since second year. So second year,
Yeah.
top overall achiever, third year, and honors.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
I've
now
been.
hopefully with masters as well. Like
I
you
don't
were
think
just
they
like,
have that for masters.
I'm taking them all of them. Like just come here.
No, but
Wow.
I think.
Welcome back to another exciting episode. My name is Sally Sitole, and on today's episode, we have an aspiring interior architect, an author, and someone who is currently pursuing his master's degree at the University of Johannesburg. I'm quite intrigued of his inspirational story from moving from one university to another to pursue his purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mawande Mdluli.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, and yourself.
I'm good. Moving
Lovely.
from one university to another, but we'll get to that. Who
Yes.
are you? Where do you come from?
So Mawande is just a boy from the hood. I'm from Vosloorus, and I come from a family of four. So
Yeah.
we have, I have three older sisters.
Yeah.
I'm the last born, and yeah, I come from a very loving home, loving family structure. Mawande is also a fiance.
Oh, congratulations! Wedding bells in the building. Okay. Are you invited to the wedding?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
There are a lot of prerequisites
Yeah.
for that.
Congratulations.
But yeah, engaged to a very beautiful lady, Michaela Davids, and she's a medical virologist by profession. So I come from a very supportive background. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of support from family and friends. So yeah, that's me. Yeah.
You are in an industry that is not so common. And still has a little bit of misconceptions. But let's start about where it all began. When you were in high school,
Yes.
when the teacher asked you, okay, so what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer?
So interestingly enough, I've always wanted to become an ophthalmologist.
Yeah. What
So
is that?
so it's an optical surgeon.
Okay.
So I come
Okay.
from an optical background. My father, he's an optical, you know, tradesman. So he has optical labs and optical practices. My sister also followed. Two of my sisters actually followed the same route. So I've always thought that okay, I'd also be aligning with their purpose. But I had a change of mind because I was initially intending on studying medicine.
Yeah.
Hence why I went to UP. I did biological sciences, BSc biological sciences, and the plan was to divert into medicine.
Yeah.
But then, after that first semester, I'm like, nah, I don't like this.
Yeah. This is not where I belong.
Yes. So I switched to BSc physics.
Yeah.
Which I studied and I enjoyed because I really enjoyed physics. I enjoyed maths, and I specialized in the physics department, so I branched off into environmental and engineering geology. So that's where I thought I was going, but
Yeah.
I rediscovered myself. Yeah, rediscovered my purpose, and yeah, I branched off into the design world.
Yeah. So when did you take that decision to say, let me branch off to the design world?
So it was actually after launching my book,
Okay.
The Groomer Gentleman's Guide. Within that, I was already working on what I thought was my purpose, but I was still not 100% fulfilled. I felt like there's still a lot more of me that I'm not exploiting. Hence why I've always thought and I've always knew actually that I'm a creative at heart, but I never really had an outlet for it. And after doing a lot of research, a lot of reading, I decided to, well, it was either architecture or interior design. So there was
Yeah.
that that big debate within myself. Like, okay, I know I want to create. I know that these are the two that I want to go into, but which one do we actually go into? So
Yeah.
that was like a crossroad for me. But it was at that point when, I was already doing something that was aligning with what I thought my purpose was, and I decided to have, a career change.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk a bit about your book, Okay, author.
Yes,
What is
yes,
it
yes,
all
yes, yes.
about?
So it's actually it's titled The Groomer Gentleman's Guide. So in a nutshell, it was my contribution to try and eliminate some of the scourges, or to try and challenge some of the social scourges that we face in society,
Yeah.
such as gender-based violence,
Yeah.
such as crime, such as substance abuse, drug abuse. There's a lot of things that are happening to the male gender
Yeah.
that aren't really talked about and aren't really attended to. So that was just my contribution to, what can I do from my side, as the groomer. I called myself the groomer. I started this thing called the groomer,
Yeah.
where men share different ideas on, how to grow each other, basically, through the right principles. So what I did was I did a lot of research behind, or going into, like, what it is to be a gentleman in society,
Yeah.
in the contemporary world. And I had a lot of interviews. I spoke to a lot of influential people, and I compiled all of that into an easy to digest, easy read book called The Groomer Gentleman's Guide. And basically that was just intended to try and create and groom better gentlemen of our men. So that's the groomer in a nutshell.
So if somebody had to ask you a question about the favorite chapter in your book, I know this is normally a difficult question
Yes.
to ask authors, right?
Yes.
But a favorite chapter in your book, what is it and why?
Okay, I think, yikes, that is a very difficult answer. That is a very difficult question, rather. But I think it would be the one about respect.
Okay.
I feel that in today's society, and not in just like, not anywhere in particular, but the essence of respect seems to be like degrading. You go to your workplace, you go to, especially the construction industry, which I'm in right now. But respect in essence, it's something that, we assume people to have.
Yeah.
People should behave in a certain manner. People should be treating people in a certain manner. But it's not something that is actually taught in other homes, in a lot of homes, actually. So we have this concept that, okay, when you grow up to be a respectful person. But if you don't really have someone to show you how to be respectful, how do you then, become respectful in society? So I think that chapter for me is one that also just stands out. There's quite a lot, a lot of chapters that stand out for me. But yeah, I'd say respect.
Okay, just a quick one. Where do we get the book? I need to get this book for my brothers.
Yes, no. So there's an Instagram handle called The Groomer Essay. So you just send a DM, then you request a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No
Yes.
problem.
The
So
Groomer Essay.
you moved from a different university
Yes.
to University of Johannesburg.
Yes.
To pursue something different.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What was that all about?
Okay, so like I said, there was this whole battle behind me doing architecture or interior design, and I learned after doing a lot of research, and I saw that there are a lot of opportunities in the interior design discipline, after doing my personal research, you know, and I felt that there was a lot that I could contribute to this industry, and there's a lot that I could bring to this industry than the architectural industry. So I actually got into do interior and architecture at UJ, and then I was also I was planning on either going to TUT or could have gone to UP to pursue architecture, but I precisely chose to be at UJ, at FADA. After the open day, we had like an open day where you could like engage with some of the lecturers and some of the students. And I found that to be quite, a nice space to express my creativity and to learn. Hence why I went with FADA, interior design. So, yeah.
I think we need to break this down because
Yes.
when I'm thinking about interior design, I'm
Yes.
thinking about this person putting a sofa here
Yes,
and there, a
yes.
table, this kind of color,
Yes,
a
yes,
curtain, and
yes.
so forth. But seems like it's just more than that. Do you mind expanding on that?
So I think you might be confusing it with interior decorating. So
Okay.
interior decorating is a different discipline on its own. It's something that we also dabble like into, but design, when you are an interior designer, in essence, you are a psychologist of space. You are the brains and the engineer behind how a space is supposed to work, with its purpose and function in mind. So for example, right now I've been working on lodge designs in Zambia. I'm working on a project called Kafue River Camp, as well as Munyemeshi, both in Zambia. And for example, within that, we curate the experience of the guest. From the spatial layout, we decide that okay, in order for the person to experience the brand identity of what the lodge has to offer, this is the route that they need to take, and these are the things that they need in order to have this, flamboyant experience. So there's a lot that goes into it, and you'll also find that within designers, interior designers, you find a lot of them focusing into like different avenues. So you'll get someone who becomes like a set designer, who would be designing this set. You'll find someone who will be like a retail designer who designs stores. You'll find someone who designs for hospitality. You'll find someone that designs for health, who designs like your hospitals and everything like that. So there's a lot that goes into it rather than just making it look pretty. It's more functional, and that's the approach that we use. The aesthetic part of it comes as a plus, but the main part of it functions as us being curators and psychologists of space. That's what we do in essence.
Wow, that's a whole different world on its own that I never even thought it existed.
Yeah,
hey?
I also didn't know. Until I started
Yeah.
like researching it, and you find, for example, in Johannesburg,
Yeah.
you might know that you're not necessarily like building new structures in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
We're taking buildings that are existing and we're repurposing them and refurbishing them into alternate functions, and we are in like precisely we specialize in that. That's what we do. That's a portion of what we do. So there's a lot to interior design than what people, or the perception that people have in mind. So yeah, it was also very interesting for me as well.
Yeah.
Just mind blowing. Like, okay, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So how is the future looking like in the line of your industry?
So in terms of, I'll speak for me personally.
Yeah.
I feel that there's still a lot to explore in the realms of academia. I feel like there's still a lot of things that we need to look into, and there are a lot of things that we could innovate in the industry. So looking at it from or through the perspective of academia, I feel like there's still a lot to be done, and because it's also still a relatively new discipline. But for myself personally, I'd also like to learn more about different avenues of design. For example, I've done a lot of projects where I work in like hospitality, I work with retail, I work with residential, I work with health, I've done doctor's offices before.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot to learn, and I think the moment we start confining ourselves that, okay, this is exactly where I want to go, you start to like limit yourself because there's so much that we don't even know. Recently I was speaking to someone who designs boats.
Yeah.
They're interior designer, but they work on like luxury boats. So there's still a lot for me to explore. I can't really confine it and say that my journey ends here.
Yeah.
But I think in particular I'd like to become an academic in the industry. I think that would be like my end goal, to be an academic, to share what I've learned in the industry, being in industry, being in academia, and contributing towards the next generation so that they can build on what I've also, on what I have to contribute.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, speaking about academia, let's not forget that you're a top achiever.
Oh, dear.
You're a top achiever. I don't know for how many consecutive times, but you can tell us, of course.
So I've actually been, after first year I got into Eugenius. I'm sure you know about Eugenius. But I've been top overall achiever since second year. So second year, top overall achiever, third year, and honors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And now, hopefully, with masters as well. Like you were just like, I'm taking them, all of them. Like, just come here. Wow.
No, I think it's to do with the passion that I have for the industry, and the passion that I have for learning. I feel like it's something that I can truly invest myself into, and fully immerse myself into whatever I'm working on. Like, I don't mind cross-nighting for consecutive nights. It's not, I don't recommend it, but like, I don't mind because I love what I do. And to me, it doesn't feel like I'm working. It feels like I'm just, doing what I love doing, so you don't really feel that you're working hard or anything like that, even though you are, but it feels like you just, feeding your purpose at the end of the day. So, yeah.
So coming from a person who has a business, who is in the industry, working in the industry, and also has an element of academia inside of him, right? Because you're a tutor and so forth.
Yes, precisely.
So where do you think the gap is in terms of speaking to students who are still in high school? Because when we're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do in varsity? I'm thinking about medicine. I'm thinking about being a lawyer, an accountant, this and that. But we don't know that there's like so much industries out there that are not, that people don't know
That
of.
is true.
And there's so much like space and avenue for you to progress. Like, so where do you think the gap is? What can we do so that the young people can know that there's so many opportunities out there besides the one that we already know of?
Yes, the typical medicine. I do think that it is, it's due to the fact that the knowledge isn't really, exploited as it should be. I feel like, because, growing up high school, I don't remember even looking at interior design. I probably knew that it was there, but it wasn't really something that I was like, okay, I could consider this as a career, because I also didn't know people that were doing it, So it's also a matter of like breaking that ground and saying that, okay, I've seen Mawande doing this, I can also do it, and it's very hard to want something that you can't even visualize, even for me going into the interior design discipline. I mean, I saw a lot of architects making it. I mean, I saw a few designers, but I could tell and I could sense that there's a lot that we could still do in this industry, and there's a lot that I could contribute to this industry. So I think it's also a matter of people that are also designers, just also showing face and saying that, okay, this is what I do, and I'm able to sustain myself, using what I do as a designer. So I think it's also a matter of just like people actually seeing designers, because there aren't a lot of designers. Quite recently I went to an event for young designers, and I mean, that room, there wasn't a lot of people in there, meaning that it's still an evolving discipline, and a lot of people are still trying to understand it and find their feet in it, and some people are just trying to see that, okay, is this actually for me? Can I actually sustain myself through this? So I think it's just a matter of people seeing that this thing actually works. It's an industry that people can actually enjoy and go into and find themselves becoming successful in. So, yeah.
Interesting. So now students will be writing the exams soon.
Yes.
How do you, like, what advice do you give them? Because, I mean, you've been through it, you are still in it, but you've really achieved in it, in terms of, like, studying and balancing work with school and other personal life, other personal projects.
Yes.
What advice do you have for those kind of students?
So I am a big planner. You know, I believe in planning because I feel like, and also at a very particular point in my life, there was a time where I felt that I wasted a lot of time doing things that don't benefit me, you know. And it's in the small things, like you sit down, you're scrolling on social media. I mean, it's nice, it's comfortable, and then it's crunch time where you have a submission or a test or an exam or so forth, and you know you start panicking and you're running around trying to cross night, trying to figure things out, trying to remember what the lecturer said, you know. So I think it's mostly to do with planning, you know. In the beginning of the year, students usually get a study guide. You know, they get a study guide showing that, okay, on this day, this is what you're going to be studying. On this day, this is what you're going to be studying. And there's lesson preps for that. You're supposed to prepare for that lesson. You can't just rock up there and expect the lecturer to spoon feed you all the things that you need to learn. You should already do those recommended readings. You know, that's where it starts. And also planning your schedule so that you can accommodate you making your notes, and you can accommodate yourself studying, not because you have to write a test, but because you want to know more about the industry. You know, I always think that if in first year you're getting 50%, you're passing with 50%, okay. Second year, you're passing with 50%. Third year, you're passing with 50%, right? So you're telling me that by the time you graduate, there's 150% that you don't know about your industry, you see. So it's just looking at it from a different perspective and saying that, okay, in order for me to actually become successful in this industry, I need to invest myself so that I can reap the rewards of my investment at the end of the day. So it's all about that planning, that time management, and also accommodating your personal life, you know. For example, I'm getting married soon, and I need to accommodate that family life, you know. So as much as I want to be successful in my industry, my personal life also has to be, you know, quite balanced so that holistically I'm fulfilled. So yeah, it's a matter of planning and balance.
Interesting. No, I like that a lot. Quite inspiring.
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to see what the world of interior architect and design has for you.
Thank you very
And
much.
for me, potentially. You just never know. Like, I could just divert as well and just go to
Pull through,
Fada.
there's room.
You know, exactly. The cake is too big for you alone. We need to share a bit. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much
Truly,
for having
truly
me.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we leave it for today's episode. Until I see you next time on another interesting episode, my name is Sally Sitole. Goodbye.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.